Top of the morning to you. Headed back down to Branson today. Got ourselves a little service call. Got around a hot tub circuit for folk down to the lower floor of a 2-story house. That's going to be a good one. Then we got a few lights to install over there at Rural Construction. Let's go. Peace. Peace of Mind Electric HM Development. In this car siding. This was a whole nother deal right here. And then we hung that light. Oh man, that thing was a pain in the butt. And then you come out here, look at these people's view. Oh my gosh. Don't you wish this was my house? Here it is. Yeah, we got to figure out a way to get a hot tub wire from the panel in the garage all the way down there. All right, so here's the tools I'll be using to try to get this wire from this panel down this wall, across the floor, into those steps, up into this hole that the plumber's made for us, around the corner, down this chase that we created, try to get this hot tub down there. These homeowners had changed their minds on this washer and dryer and they moved it downstairs. So we've already done that process of this job. So let's get on it. Here we go. My first plan of action is kind of look at how I want to get this wire down. So you see we got the floor here. We got a sill plate here. And it looks like it's covered up with some OSB. There's no attic space to get this wire up and over and down this wall. So we're going to have to figure out how to get it down and over. So my first process is just kind of figuring out where the subfloor lands here. So I'm going to come over here. I can see the bottom plate. I'm going to measure up to about where the door sits. We're at 16.5. I'm going to come over here. I want to mark 15.5 just because I want to know kind of where I'm setting in this area. So above this line and up is a chase in this wall. You got a stud here and you got a stud here. So I'm going to do a hole saw right here and we're going to pour it down and we're going to have to cut through the OSB into the floor, down into this space, into those stairs. All right. Let's see it done here. I got my mark there. You got to be careful of those wires coming down this wall, so you want to be real gentle when you do this. See, right there. Here's where the floor sits, right at that 16.5, right at the center. So now I'm going to use this board to try to make a nice line all the way down to the floor. Make sure it's level, kind of just eye level it. Come up, mark down. Boom. All right. Take the multi-tool. Score it first, and then I like to dry heat, so that way it just kind of pops right out of there. Just maybe a couple sheetrock screws in there, boom. We got that removed. Now, our next step is we're just going to cut this little section out. I am seeing a nail right there. I don't see here. You look on top, you can kind of see if there's something You know, if there's another stud nailed down, I don't think so. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on this side of that nail, on the left side, and we're going to pour it out with a multi-tool and try to get into this pocket because we're trying to go down and over. All right, we got Lawson over here. He's on the old multi-tool. Let's see it. Awesome. Now remember when you're doing this, make sure you're real gentle because there could be some wires that are down there behind that wall. So just take your time. Okay, so first off, I usually try to make just a little tiny porthole here so we can kind of see what we got going on. There's another I-beam running on the back side of this outer plate. So we do have a little tiny pocket down in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring this hole up just a little higher, and that way I can get a drill bit to port down through this plate into this pocket. And you always want to try to keep your hand behind these multi-tools so that way you don't scratch up the wall when you're cutting stuff out. Anywhere you do this, always kind of keep your hand right here and your fingers on the wall so that way you have full control of this tool. Alright, I'm going to try to get this thing angled perfectly so it just lands right in that hole. And of course we'll have to put nail plates here, nail plates down. So when you're doing stuff like this, you kind of have to do some protection. Hard stuff. I'm in it. Alright, so we got our little porthole area cut out. Now, we just got to try to get this drill bit in that pocket. I hand the phone over to Austin. Thank you, sir. Always been hitting some nails. These little bits, we're going. Perfect. Boom. The hole. Down over here on this end of it, I already cut this side of the stairwell out. I'm going to drill a hole straight down and get it into my little pocket I have there. Kind of want to wiggle that drill bit around a little bit so that way you get a nice porthole in. Now you got to come inside here, try to get a hole here into this pocket. My drill bit, but I'm not liking where it came out in that hole, so we're going to go up a little higher. All right, that's the drill bit. Got my finger. Okay. So when you're feeding wire through walls like this, I like to just try to get the tip of it cleaned up a little bit. Put a little tape on it, so that way you're not catching all this sheeting. Got my hand earlier. So always know you're working when you're bleeding on the job. Now this is the hard part. We got the wire through these steps. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple staples in here. Hold this wire down. Keep it secure. Theoretically, this is to code. Because this is in a non-accessible space once we put the stair back on here. Or the step. Awesome. Alright, this is why I like that tape. It helps getting through situations like this. You know, a lot of times we don't make this much sheetrock damage, but there was already a lot of damage to be made on this job. And so we got the go-ahead from the builder and the homeowner to go ahead and just cut everything out to make it a little easier on us and get this wire downstairs. We were thinking about taking that wire at the very bottom of the stairs, but I ended up finding a different hole, a different path, so we ran it a different way. The day in the life of peace of mind, electric. Well, Austin, man, look at him working hard. He got these wires into that hole. We're ready to get her downstairs. It's going to be a whole nother process. Let's get her done. Here we are downstairs in this closet. The homeowners wanted to run a new washer and dryer down here, which we've already done last week. And then they surprised us, said, hey, we want a hot tub. Can we get it through that same spot? And I said, yes, sir, we can. So here we are. Austin's upstairs. This is a very old dryer vent that they never used. So we ended up using that to get everything down. Plumbers followed. So we're going to bring that wire down that little chase, come out, and put this hot tub disconnect right outside this wall. Let's see it. Down here on the lower section of this home, still a phenomenal view. Say, Austin, what's up? What's up? Yeah, hardest working dude ever. We can see where the plumbers came out. Here's that dryer vent that we had used. And we're going to be putting that disconnect about 3 foot off the ground here. Yeah, this is a 6-3 wire, so it's going to have 2 hots, a neutral, and a ground. So you have 1 hot there, 1 hot here, and the neutral, and the ground bar. Oh, got my black push-in installed. You always need those anytime you're doing any kind of disconnects. Anything, anytime wire is going through a metal location, it has to have a plastic bushing or a metal bushing. A lot of times, I don't always use the level. My eyes can level things out pretty well, actually. And there was a stud on this side of that hole. So I know this next screw is going to go right into a stud. We're going to go ahead and install the home run wire to this disconnect box. So what I like to do is I like to go through first. I like to unscrew all my lugs. That way they're prepped and ready to go. And this is paramount that you have this much wire, because you got to realize you got one of the phases rolling all the way up here to this. So you really got to make sure you have enough wire. And I'm going to go ahead and do this ground first. Flip this up. Just take my hand and I'll push it back. Kind of get a nice little loop there, so that way when I'm putting it in, I can kind of pull and it goes into that location. Smaller screwdriver out. Push it nice and flat. looks fine. Always double check everything, make sure nothing looks like it's been nicked. Everything looks good. A little bit of that sheeting got a little nick on it, but we're not down to the copper, so we're good. And you want to go ahead and just line that up with your thumb always, and see how I have it where my thumb's out, where I can pull that back, and I'm going to cut it right where the end of my thumb's at, so that way when I strip it, I can pop it right in that lug. You don't want to have too much of this stripped out. You want to have almost the perfect amount inside that lug. My hands. Got to have strong hands for this one. Okay. Same thing here. Go ahead, I'm going to tuck that back in here. That way it kind of holds it back. Hold it back for you. Do the same thing. Pull to where I can get that into that lug, no problem. You don't really want to have any copper showing outside these lugs. That's important. You really want to get it tight. And then you want to double check everything after you finish. Okay, neutral. This was a little more tricky. What I like to do is just fold it back with that ground. Do the same thing. I do a kick up. Put my thumb down because look, I can get that thing up in there after I strip it. Why you want to go through and unscrew everything first. That way you can just keep rolling and flowing. All right, that is a hot tub disconnect hooked up. Just another satisfied customer. It's called Peace of Mind Electric to come save the day. Hot tub party, here we come.